Emily and Olive are here to join us and give a presentation. We've called this People Make Home, and it's in conjunction with the Denver Art Museum. Olivia Moya is a visual artist originally from Southern California, and she's working and living in Denver now. She received her BFA from Otis College of Art and Design in 2011. And if you have been driving around Denver, you probably have seen a lot of her mural work. She creates work in the studio and then paints on the giant walls around Denver, murals being her forte with her signature colorful abstract style. You'll see that here in a moment. Her murals can be seen at the Museum of Outdoor Arts, the Transportation Center in Vail, the Republic Plaza building, Illegal Pete's, Lululemon Park Meadows, and Virgin Hotels in Las Vegas, to name a few. Emily Hope Dobkin is the founder of Betterish and is a hybrid of a community organizer meets arts educator meets entrepreneur. She twists together craft and play and reflection, and that's what we get to enjoy today. And her work is really about producing innovative experiences that nourish creativity and experiences that encourage meaningful social connections. What a appropriate person to be on our stage today. We're really excited to bring Emily and Olive to our stage today because we are working in partnership with the Denver Art Museum today, and historically we've hosted a number of events at the Denver Art Museum. The objective today is to preview and announce the grand reopening of the Martin Building at the Denver Art Museum. The Martin Building is this beautiful piece of art itself that is going through a revamp. And our speakers today are collaborating on a really notable mural project together, which will be prominently featured on the main level of the Martin Building when it reopens on October 24th. So mark your calendar, October 24th. I believe that day is free, and anybody and everybody can come take part in the grand reopening and all the art within and the building itself. So without further ado, please welcome to the stage Olivia Moya. Olive, take it away, and everybody just give her a big round of applause, whether you're on mute or not.
Right. Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you everyone at Creative Mornings and at the Denver Art Museum. And thank you so much to Wilderness. I didn't know about you guys, and your music feels like home to me. So I really appreciated that. And to my art partner, Emily, I'm Olivia Moya. I'm a visual artist, as you heard. I've been painting murals recently, so I thought I'd give you a little view of what that looks like in case you haven't seen it. Oops. Bear with me. Okay. This is the Denver Post Warehouse ColorCon Mural Festival. This is my piece at Illegal Pete's on Evans, Cherry Creek Trail. So it kind of gives you an idea. I'm always working large scale, but not all the time. I work in the studio as well. I make paintings, but everything is colorful and mostly abstract. But since this is about home, I'm going to start at the beginning. I grew up in a small suburban town called Temecula, California. It's about 40 minutes east of San Diego. And there was really nothing there when we moved there, just some young vineyards in the middle of the desert. And it was just like a sweet upbringing. I walked to school and felt safe. I ran around barefoot in the summer and organized roller hockey games and made homemade movies on a camcorder. I played very poorly on a softball team. I babysat, I was in community theater, I camped, etc., etc. So it was very cliche and sweet, and I was so lucky. Which means by high school, I was sick of all that. I was ready to get out. I thought I was cool, probably because I had a Razor flip phone. And so I decided to go to art school. And I actually didn't know art school was a thing, but my parents were like, you can be an artist, right? And I was like, no, that's not real. They're like, yeah, it is. So I dropped all my AP classes and I attended Otis, College of Art and Design in Los Angeles. And I distinctly remember I had this little yellow Chevy pickup, and I distinctly remember driving there for the first time by myself and just feeling instantly at home. Like just the sounds, the smells, everything about LA just felt like home to me. And then on top of that, I loved art school. Like loved it. Everything about it. It was just we were always drawing or making something constantly. We were always roping each other into doing some weird project where like someone's dressed as a unicorn or screen printing with cow's blood or creating sculptural houses out of cardboard and dropping them off at Skid Row. Um, this one's a long story, but you get the gist. Like before coming to LA, I always lived in the same place. And so it was a unique feeling to come to a strange place and just feel home immediately, even though I had never been at home except for in Temecula. But it was this collective energy and interest of a city that was always creating. Everyone in LA is a screenwriter and a musician and a artist and a model and you know, and so it was the power of being around like-minded individuals. So then I was always drawing. I brought my sketchbook with me everywhere, and um, I feel like it was also this public aspect or like performative aspect of drawing in public. I'd bring it with me to a coffee shop, and inevitably people would strike up conversation with me about what I was drawing. And so it was kind of where my interest began with the intersection of art and people. And so for my senior thesis, I painted a couple murals on canvas in like my typical illustrative style at the time and took them around LA and hung them in different spots. And the point was to discuss it with people. And so I would ask people on the street what they thought about it. So I took them to a parking garage in Santa Monica and like hung them on freeway overpasses and at the beach and over other murals like this JR mural and in Hollywood. And so I really got a lot out of the conversations that I had with people, and I compiled all the photos and transcribed their reactions and created a book. And so the project became less about the mural itself and more about what it meant to put that art in different spaces and what it meant to have different people who maybe weren't quote unquote art people to bring their experiences to the pieces. So then flash forward a couple years out of school, my boyfriend got a job offer in Denver, and so we just decided to move for his job. And I think moving and being alone is hard for everybody, but especially I'm a more introverted person, so it was especially hard for me. And it had nothing to do with Denver at all, but I just hated it here at first. Um, I just didn't get that instant feeling of like belonging like I did in LA. And to make matters worse, at the time my mom had been diagnosed with cancer. So right at the moment where I felt like I had not only left home, I had left the people who make this place home, right around the moment where I felt like I needed to stay. So Denver, in a way, forced me to face a more profound idea of creating home or finding home instead of just instantly having it. So I got to work making things because that's just what I know how to do. And I taught myself how to screen print, and I set up a rickety screen printing operation in my apartment. And I started making my illustrations into like bags and shirts and prints and cards. And I participated in markets. And so I was starting to feel like finding my people, creative people. I'm sure a lot of you know these two. So I was feeling more at home in that way. But then I discovered I really wasn't into making work with the intention of, will this sell, in the back of my mind. That was really suffocating for me. And so I kind of was back at square one after that. Um, so didn't really know what I was doing with my life. This whole time I was working at Trader Joe's as a sign artist, while I flailed around trying to make something of my art. And meanwhile, I got married and I was pregnant with my son, and I kind of thought, well, gave it a good try, and I just sort of gave up on at least the idea of making money as an artist. But I was still drawing, and my work was changing a lot. And I think previously I would have really fought that because I'd worked to build this style for a long time. But at this point, I was like, well, I'd kind of given up anyway. So I was like, just lean into it and let things change. And they just got more and more abstract. And then, of course, right around that time is when I got the opportunity to paint my first mural at Huckleberry Roasters. And I was 6 months pregnant at the time. So that was interesting. But then I had my son, and I just was so inspired to work and paint. And then, of course, I started getting more mural requests and like small shows. And it happened so quickly and instinctively that I knew I had to like sit down and think about what I was making. And everything before was kind of self-evident conceptually because it was illustrative, but I decided the way to start approaching was to think about colors really deeply because I was using specific colors. So I realized I was comforting myself. Like this soft turquoise was the wallpaper in my childhood kitchen, and all the faded pastel hues are kind of Disney on VCR. And like summers drawing with chalk and going to the beach. And then these like hot pinks and yellows were more of my early adulthood in LA, like going to metal shows at the Troubadour and like sunsets on the 10 freeway. Um, so that started coming into view. But I was still really curious about this idea of, especially painting things that in public, other people's sense of my work and what it means to them, and other people's sense of belonging and how art made them feel. And like, can it be mine and theirs and everyone's? So really my favorite example of this is I worked with the third graders at Isabella Bird Elementary, and I taught three different classes about color mixing and how, each color has connotations. And so they mixed these colors to represent specific words, and then they helped me paint them on the walls of their school. And they felt so proud of this wall. Like, it was right at the end of school, and so the parents were kind of around, and they would just point and be like, I did that right there. That piece right there, I painted it and I made that color. And I feel like it's the same with the kids who walk down those halls. Even though they didn't paint it, they're going to feel some sort of ownership over that. So that was 2019. I was painting murals and kind of getting more of a sense of what it means to make public art, and how it's really connected to home, because in some ways art can be hard to to own, a little bit out of reach. It could be expensive or whatever, but something that's public can be for everybody. If you're passing it every day on your way to work, or riding your bike by it all the time, you can have your own experience with the thing, and it can be yours in the way that I always give the example about music. Like Hey Jude by the Beatles belongs to everyone. It's everyone's song in their own way. It's dedicated to a person or a time in your life, or it makes you think of something. And I feel like art can be the same way. It can be yours in that way. So then right around this time is when I met Emily at Recreative Gallery. I had a solo show and I was painting a mural, and she kind of came up to me, and then at the opening she had her meat cart there, And I experienced that for the first time. And I just knew she had something special, because normally that's an experience I'd be so awkward in and really uncomfortable. And it was so much fun. And she just made people feel comfortable and able to be a little vulnerable. Um, and then we just kept running into each other. She rode her bike to see me paint my illegal Pete's mural right around the time that I totally ruined it. So there she is, helping me try and fix it. um, and then right before we were sent into lockdown, I did this piece at the Republic Plaza building. And I was incorporating these visual shifts in my paintings, which were representative of a moment in time where a decision is made, or like an occurrence that changes the course of your day or your life. And it was this ripple effect I couldn't stop thinking about. Like, what would happen if I didn't move to Denver? Or if I hadn't decided to do this or that? Or where would my art be if I hadn't had my son? And so the piece was supposed to be interactive. Like, someone would encounter it and see the shift labeled rousing adventure theme plays, or ominous eerie tones grow louder. And then maybe they felt like they were at that shift in their life too. And so I wanted them to share their stories and see themselves in the work. And then possibly, because they're sharing their story, read other people's stories prompted by the piece on social media, and thus feel less alone and feel community and start to feel home and just human. But then 2 weeks later, we were in lockdown and those doors were closed. And so I started working on some ideas I'd had for a while, but I didn't have time for. I wanted to start incorporating photos. And I was mostly interested in historic photos, specifically of back home in LA, because I had this emotional attachment to the images. Like, I knew the place, even though it was taken 100 years ago, didn't look the same as when I knew it. But I just had this reaction to the photos. So I started naming the pieces based on a memory I had at that spot, and then the location and date when the photo was taken. So it was like a collaboration between me and the photographer. So this one's called Surprise Birthday Party, Sunset in Edgemont, 1925. Then I started getting commission requests. And so I was able to further this concept. I'd ask the person to tell me a place that felt like home, or where they had strong emotional memories or attachments. And so then I'd choose the historic photo based on that place. So it was kind of, the piece was mine and the photographer's and the person who had commissioned it. So this one's called All Saints in a Jacuzzi, West Palm Springs, 1960. So when I participated in Streetwise Boulder Mural Festival last year, I created a piece in a similar style. Streetwise, if you aren't familiar, is all about activism. So I decided to research Boulder specific history with redlining, and found more information on this section of town called the Little Rectangle. It was least desirable because of flooding and other reasons. And so it was the area that the Black community was able to create their home. And they had their church and all their well-kept homes, and it was theirs, and they felt belonging there. And so I found this photo of this particular home who belonged to a man named John Wesley McVeigh. And he was a Black hotel owner and musician in the late 1800s. And I used the photo of his home and fragmented it and painted my colors and shapes as a way of discussing the trauma brought on by redlining and systemic racism, and how white supremacy was trying to distract and deny and cover up this history entirely. And then furthermore, the piece was created on a wall at the Boulder Housing Partners, who they work to create affordable communities for low and moderate income residents. So I had, a literal image of a home, and it's on this building of this project that creates homes for people, and talking about how people make community in their place. And so my work was revolving around this theme, but I didn't put it together yet, really. And here's my last example. I created a mural in Vail of Maya this year. And in picking the photo, I was really drawn to how it wasn't perfect. People weren't smiling and looking at the camera. She's kind of sunning herself. And there's this ice bar in the back. And come to find out, it was kind of a rogue, like people just put it up at Midvale. They weren't supposed to, but it happened a few years in a row in like the late 60s. And I was able to paint during mud season. So no one's there except locals. And so I just kept hearing stories from all these people, and I got to speak to all the people that lived there, and they remembered that ice bar, and they had memories during that time, and or they felt a connection to like her outfit. And one guy even thought he remembered this specific woman. He thought she was the pharmacist's wife, Mrs. Charles. So I'm discovering how much my work deals with these concepts and seeing the connections and asking myself, so what is home? Like physical places can hold memories for tons of people in all their different ways. And we can have this sense of ownership over spaces where we've experienced joy or sadness or spent endless hours living, working, eating, thinking. And smells and sound and music and people can unearth those memories and feelings. But like, why does that place hold value? It's just random. A house is random materials, wood and bricks and tile. And like, why does that matter in the way that, like, why does a mural matter? Um, but I feel like it's because of the experience. And almost always the experience is connected to other people. And almost always you care about the experience because you felt something. Those people made you feel seen, and they helped you become who you are or accepted who you are. Uh, and just like now more than ever, we understand the idea that it's important to be together. And so home is connection, home is people. And then right around this time, the Denver Art Museum put out this proposal for a mural demonstrating strong ties to the community and participatory experiences. And if I'm being honest, I was really interested, but a bit nervous, like thinking I can't really engage with people as well as I'd like to. And I'm still kind of awkward, artist, introverted. And then Emily just emailed me and was like, hey, maybe we could work on this together. And I knew instantly she was the perfect person because she had such a gift working with people.
And then Olive replied to my email and said, yes, I feel you do a really great job of all the things that I don't feel great at. And then I responded, well, I feel you do such a great job at all the things that I don't feel great at. And what I mean by that is Olive does such a phenomenal job of, putting paint on walls and large canvases. And I do a really good job of really cheering her on and encouraging other people to contribute to a creative experience larger than themselves. So in other words, I really love creating spaces for people to access the themes that Olive really explores in her work. So hi, everyone. My name is Emily. As you know, I'm currently here in Denver, but by way of the East Coast and the West Coast. I grew up in a tiny town in Connecticut. And before moving here, I was in Santa Cruz, California for 6 years. As mentioned earlier, I really consider myself a hybrid of a community organizer meets arts educator meets creative entrepreneur. And at the heart of all of those roles, I consider myself a possibilitarian. So I like to make things possible. And my background is really in designing public programs and participatory experiences for community-based organizations like museums and libraries, marketplaces. And I really love ice cream. So about 2.5 years ago, I started my teeny tiny business called Betterish. So Betterish is a platform that really encourages people to make better things, better relationships, and better days. And I do this in a way that really honors progress and process over perfectionism. So this idea that things don't need to be the best, they can just be Betterish. So I am completely a one-woman show, and I wear a lot of hats in this role as I guess you could call me the betterish beast. And I do all this betterish work through a wide range of community building experiences. So before the pandemic, I led a lot of hands-on workshops. I also designed a lot of DIY participatory installations. And then I also would host pop-up events. And then I would also work with organizations to tell their stories in a more creative, crafty, and engaging format. And a lot of that format took place in zines. And then I have this thing that you see behind me called the meat cart. So the meat cart is this mobile structure that before the pandemic, I used to literally cart it around to different places and spaces here in Denver and facilitate a series of games and prompts and activities that would get people to get to know each other. So at the root of this, it's all about social bridging and bringing people together. I met Olive when I was really formalizing the meat cart. This is what you're seeing is actually the meat cart 2.0. There was meat cart 1.0, which was literally a box on bicycle wheels with felt letters that I cut out that said the meat cart. But at the time, this was November 2019, I was at a point where I was like, I really want to get this out into the world more. And I was, and then flash forward to March 2020 when the pandemic hit and everything went virtual. I never in my wildest dreams thought I could virtually roll this thing into Zoom rooms worldwide, but I did. I made it happen because, like I said, I'm a possibilitarian and I like to make things possible. So starting at the end of March 2020, I started hosting everything from interactive birthday parties to company happy hours, graduation parties, creative conversations, orientation kickoffs, conference kickoffs, any kind of community building experience you can think of. It probably happened here at the meat cart. And if it hasn't happened here, it probably will happen here at the meat cart. So everything that I do here, again, is rooted in this concept that everyone you meet has something valuable to teach you, whether you like it or not, or whether you know it or not. I'm just a firm believer in this concept. So I'm gonna connect a few dots here. So like Olive, I started my creative endeavors quite young, but my creative endeavors started in tights and tap shoes in, like I said, in this tiny town called Simsbury, Connecticut. And I feel like my 5-year-old face here saying like, I'm really into the sequins and the puffy sleeves and the bows, but it'd be a lot cooler if I had people to share it with. So similar to Olive, I felt a real sense of community and belonging when I went to art school. So this picture that you see is 2004 at my performing art. I went to performing arts high school in Hartford. This is backstage of a chorus line. And I just felt such a sense of belonging and community when I did theater. I found it to be so dynamic and multifaceted, but ultimately it was about the people. I just felt so accepted. I never met so many people that gave me so many hugs in my life. And I loved it so much that this is the quote that I put in my high school yearbook. It says, I've got a dream too, but it's about singing and dancing and making people happy. That's the kind of dream that gets better the more people you share it with. Good old Kermit the Frog. So, you know, to be honest, my career path, I've never had a very straightforward career path, but I'm really, really fortunate that I've been able to always be working within a creative setting. And I've really made it my mission and my goal to really use art and creative experiences to bring people together and to really provoke that feeling that I know Olive felt when she went to school at Otis and that I felt at a young age at that performing arts high school. And so that's what I've been doing in a lot of different shapes and forms. So flash forward to January 2021, when Olive and I were sending those emails back and forth. This is the proposal that we sent over to the Denver Art Museum when they put a call out for the newly renovated Martin building. So our concept is really about how the 4 elements are not only essential, but how they really symbolize our basic human needs. So sky above us, earth below us, water running through us, and fire within us. So in terms of like thinking about the sky and the air, we really feel that that represents this sense of belonging. So in May, we put a call out to community members to share their slice of the sky. And what we meant by that is, you know, we're all under the same sky, but it looks a little bit different from our different perspectives. So we've had, I believe, and Olive, correct me if I'm wrong here, over 500 submissions of people sharing their slice of the sky. And Olive is in a space now where she is basically putting together a patchwork of all these various perspectives.
So what we're doing right now is working to develop the earth part of our project, stability and groundedness. And so that part will ultimately end up as like a vinyl on the ground that poses questions or thought-provoking statements about what makes us feel grounded and stable and connected. So just example.
I'm back. I'm sorry, I don't know what happened.
About
I'm back.
the vinyls.
Amazing, amazing. So what we initially proposed with the vinyls were questions like, who came here before you? Who will come here after you? Look up, look down, all around, the sky is ours. And so in the past month, just to show you, this is aesthetically what these vinyls are gonna look like on the ground. And as you know, this is Olive's amazing, beautiful aesthetic, and that's aesthetically what it will also echo on the ground. So we have been basically the past month hosting this Meet and Munch series where we've been asking people, we've been hosting these creative brainstorms to really get feedback and ideas and thoughts and feelings that will really represent community and belonging. And then we're synthesizing them all. And in the next week, we're gonna be designing these vinyls, and they will be on the pathways leading up to the museum, and then right underneath the mural as well. So the remaining time that we have together, I really wanna get your all's perspective and ideas and thoughts and feelings on what could actually be here on the ground leading up to the museum. So we're actually gonna go off of presentation mode and have some fun. So if you haven't cut little pieces of paper, now is a great time to do that. So we're gonna play a game here at the meat cart called 7-Second Stories. And you're gonna need 5 pieces of paper. It could be Post-it notes, it could be notebook paper, and you're gonna need a pen. So if you don't have that, now's the time to go snag that stuff. Alrighty, so this game that we're playing is called 7-Second Stories. And how it works is I am gonna give you a series of prompts. I'm gonna say you have 7 seconds to draw, and it's gonna be somehow connected to the theme of home or community or belonging. I want to preface this by saying this has absolutely nothing to do with artistic ability. Nobody can draw anything that great in 7 seconds. It's just supposed to get us in a more creative, active, playful headspace, because I know a lot of us have just been staring at the screen all morning. So we're going to get a little more active and participatory here. At the end of the 7 seconds, I'm going to make the obnoxious sound of and you're all going to hold up your little drawings to the screen so we can all see your drawings. And then we'll either go into breakout rooms, and I'll let you know when we get to that part, to have discussions about what we drew and hopefully find some unexpected connections with each other. Or we might just drop some things in the chat, and then Olive and I, again, we're going to be using all this information and really synthesize it next week to come up with what is going to live on the ground near the museum and near the Martin Building. So without further ado, thumbs up if you're ready. We're all ready? Okay, this is just a warm-up round, all right? I gotta get my stopwatch. I should mention, I'm gonna be really soft on the 7 seconds. I just really like alliteration. So I'm probably gonna say you have a little more than 7 seconds, and it'll be closer to like 20 to 30 seconds. Okay, so let me get the stopwatch all queued up here. All right, here we go, friends. You have a little more than 7 seconds to draw something you really love about where you're living, whether it's here in Denver or wherever it is you live. So something you really love about where you live. Go ahead and draw that in a little little more than 7 seconds now. Okay, go ahead and hold it up to the screen. Let's see what we have here. I'm seeing a lot of mountains. Okay, mountains, flowers, trees, sunshine. Awesome. I encourage you, if you want to scroll through to see everyone's little drawings. Okay, you clearly all get the hang of the game. You got it. That was a great warm-up round. You have a little more than 7 seconds to draw a time where you have felt a real sense of community or belonging. So a time where you have felt a real sense of community or belonging. Go ahead and draw that in a little more than 7 seconds, probably closer to 30 seconds starting now. Okay, go ahead and hold it up to the screen so we can see what we have here. All right, ooh, beautiful stuff. Okay, nice. I'm seeing like a microphone. Ooh, intriguing. So cool. Okay, I can't wait to learn more about these. So what we're gonna do now is we're actually gonna go into breakout room. So you're gonna go into a breakout room with like 3 or 4 other people for about 6 minutes. When you get into your breakout room, go ahead and introduce yourself, share where you are, and then I want you to talk about that time that you felt a sense of community or belonging. So you'll have 5 minutes. It's gonna be pretty quick to discuss that. And I also want you to use the final minute to really think of words where you found connections or commonalities with each other. So thumbs up if that makes sense. Any questions? Go ahead and drop, if you have any questions, go ahead and drop it in the chat. Without further ado, I'm gonna have RJ press the magic button and send us to breakout rooms. Or Dave, sorry, Dave.
No worries at all. Here we go, guys. See,
Dave,
go ahead.
When did you feel a sense of community or belonging?
I wrote CMB.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
Carly, do you want to share a time that you felt a sense of community or belonging?
Sure. So I drew a little mountain town. I actually just saw Emily there.
Yeah.
I was spending a month in Ridgeway, Colorado, down near kind of like the Montrose Telluride area. And everyone said hello, whether they were like tourists, whether they were locals. Like you walk down the street and everyone genuinely said hello. Sometimes they'd stop and talk to you. And when I got back to Denver, I found myself walking down the street, and Denver's so much friendlier than Brooklyn, where I was living before. But I'd be walking down the street in like the West Highlands, and I'm like waiting for everyone to say hello or like trying to initiate conversation. And like, it was like a 90% drop off.
Oh.
It was just really funny to like think about how like, I don't know if it's COVID or I don't know if it's just like busier, but it's like, okay, like not everyone wants to like stop and chat when you're walking your dog here.
Yeah.
But Denver is also extremely friendly, but it was just funny to realize how I had kind of like adjusted up my friendliness to the place that I was staying.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Everyone's on vacation too, like feels like they're out, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Maybe that's my assumption. It's just like it's easy going because you're in the mountains.
Welcome back, friends. As you're coming back in the chat, if you want to just share those words of commonality or connection that you found, that would be awesome within your break room. Place, vulnerability, art, school. Home is where the heart is, for sure. Creating your place, a sense of belonging, people wanting to make things with their hands, support, safety. Awesome. So we're going to be using all of these words somehow in some capacity to really come up with those phrases and inspirational questions or thought-provoking questions to really spark curiosity as people are coming into the museum. So because I know we're a little bit tight on time, I want to get to the next round of 7-second stories. Thumbs up if you're ready. Alrighty, friends. You have a little more than 7 seconds to write down a color that you associate with your childhood home, or if there's a particular thing that you associate with your childhood home, you can go ahead and draw that. So you're going to go ahead and either write down a color that you associate with your childhood home, or just reminds you of your childhood home, or if it's a particular thing, you can go ahead and draw that. So go ahead and do that in a little more than 7 seconds, closer to 30 seconds starting now. Okay, go ahead and hold it up. Let's see what we have here. Ooh, green, red, pink. Oh, so good, so good. Okay, we are gonna do the same thing. So we are gonna go to a totally new set of breakout rooms. And again, you're gonna introduce yourself, share where you are, and then you're just gonna share what is that that color that really reminds you of your childhood or that thing. So Dave, if you can push the magic button again, that would be awesome. What color did you put?
I drew a tree. I would say green. I grew up in the woods in the small town of Kremlin, Colorado.
Awesome.
And
I didn't do it, but I really, when I think of my childhood home, I just think of these blue tiles in my kitchen.
Oh wow.
And they were always really cold. But that's like when you say like childhood home, I'm like blue tiles. That's like the first thing that comes to my mind. How about you, RJ?
I put down pink, almost like fuchsia, because that's the color my parents painted our house for most of my childhood.
That's amazing. What a bright color.
It was very bright.
Jody thinks of 1970s shag carpet. Yes, so good.
It's amazing.
Taylor, you put robin egg blue. That was the color of your house.
That's pretty.
Alrighty, friends, as you're coming back in the chat, if you can just drop the colors, the names of the colors or the things that you associate with your childhood home, that would be awesome. And we're gonna go ahead, since we're tight on time, we're gonna go ahead and get to our next prompt. Okay, friends, you have 77 seconds to come up with a prompt or a question or a phrase that is related to connection and community and belonging. So imagine you're walking up to the museum and you see this phrase or this question on the ground. That's what you're going to come up with in the next 77 seconds. So go ahead and come up with that in 77 seconds starting now. Okay, go ahead and drop those in the chat. And as mentioned, Olive and I are going to be synthesizing all of these words and phrases and questions and ideas into the vinyls that will live outside the museum. So go ahead and put your ideas in the chat because we want them all to be included. So please go ahead and type them out. And then I have one really fun prompt or 7-second story that I want to do with you all. So you have 7 seconds. I'm only going to give you 7 seconds this time to write down a song that reminds you of home. Or think of it this way, like say you've been away from your home for a really long time and you're driving home and this song comes on and you're just like, yes, I am home. Go ahead and write down that song in 7 seconds starting now. All right, go ahead and hold it up. Let's see what jams we got today. Let's see, Changes, David Bowie, Summer Breeze. Yes, so good. So similarly, I'm gonna have you write down these songs or type them in the chat. And we've actually been curating a playlist from our Meet and Munch series. We've been asking this question the past month. And we will send out this playlist of all these songs that remind people of home. So literally stay tuned for that. I have one final thing after you type your song. Oh, this is so good. Yeah, we got a little Happy, some Hey Jude, a little Bob Seger, Bittersweet Symphony. Yes, so good. Thanks, friends. Here at the Meat Cart, first of all, I just want to thank you for your participation. Olive and I appreciate it so much as we're in this final phase of synthesizing all these ideas. I love taking a little video of everyone waving to each other here at the Meat Cart. So if you don't mind coming, if you're okay, if you don't want to be on it, you can turn off your video. But if you don't mind turning on your videos, I'm going to take a video of everyone waving at each other so I can document all the people that have met here at the Meat Cart. Thank you. Awesome. So good. So good. Thank you. Yay. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Olive and I appreciate it so, so much. I know it was really, really fast at the end, but thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Everybody want to come off mute and give them a round of applause. So special to be a part of that. I can't wait to go to the Martin building.